Today, we're going to learn how to create our first harmony animation. Not just harmony animation, but it's going to be 2.5D hybrid animation, where we will use 3 elements that we have combined in harmony and only in harmony. It will be partial 3D. It will be also drawing. We can use drawing substitutions, and we can use also cutout, which is more similar to Flash. So let's see how we combine all of these elements in a small animation of jumping ball. So we will take our ball. I already pre-created a simple ball, and we have a guide because any animation we create is supposed to have a guide and floor at least to know where we put it. And we have a ball itself. So to actually start moving, we need to add to our ball a peg. Peg, it's like a handle that we move our elements in the space. So let's add a peg, attach it. There are wires that are attaching elements in our network. In Harmony, there is a network called node view, where we are adding all of the nodes actually that help us to move elements. So this peg will move our ball around. We need a registration point to actually start moving. So we will place our registration point and spot. And we will start from key poses. So the method we use in Harmony to actually move elements in space called stepped mode. Why it's actually called stepped? Because we create keys, like moments of animation where the main stuff happening, but we are not combining or creating in-betweens, or in Harmony we call it twins. Sometimes it's also drawn animation, but here we will use a combination of all of the stuff. So those elements are showing us main moments of the ball where it's going to stand in the space. And then we will twin between them. Harmony will twin the main position of this peg. We'll twin only this peg, the green one. The inside of the ball, we will still draw. We can change it. Why actually we do need it? Because if you use only cutout, it looks simple. It looks like we cut it from the paper and started to use. If we use only twin animation, usually it's jumpy, not appealing, and less similar to actual imperfection of life, because what actually we like to see in animation is a little bit of imperfection. To create this imperfection, we will get inside the ball and start animating frame by frame, but only on drawing layer. So let's create key poses. So we will start from the first key where ball is standing, but we will duplicate the same position where where the line of the guide is connected with the floor. Let's extend our animation somewhere here. Let's switch to stepped mode. Somewhere here, here, and finally it's going to be somewhere here. So basically, those are the main poses. So let's see what we have. We have a ball in main positions. So right now, we need to create additional keys where our ball is on top. We are not working straight ahead frame after frame. We're kind of planning our animation. Harmony is a lot about planning. We plan what we do, and then we match our planning with visualization. So we want it to look more 2D, but in general, it's a lot of technical stuff we need to do to actually move our ball. So we will go and create a pose at the top, like this, here, in this position, and this position, and this position, and finally here. So we have our keys. So it was really simple to create because we're actually reusing the element that was already pre-existed. We didn't need to draw it. But if we're gonna play twin right now, we can choose all of these keys. You see they are red. It means all of these keys are stepped. We will see that the movement is super mechanical. It doesn't look good. It's just move in space. It doesn't change the shape. But movement is always more important than the shape changing. So at the beginning of the movement, we will do it faster because it's right in the middle of move. So we'll do it slower to the top and faster to the bottom. And here too, slower to the top, faster to the bottom. And again, we have auto twin, as we call it in Harmony. It's similar to a 3D because a lot of elements we took in 3D and implemented it inside Harmony. And again, it's going to be faster to the bottom, slower to the top, and again, faster to the bottom. Let's see it again. It's already much more interesting because we added a slow in, slow out movement. We can polish it. The system in Harmony is layering. We layer our animation. We first start from the biggest movement, then we go inside and start to tweaking and polishing the element that will look better. It's slow in, but not the way I want. I want to work on arches to make the slow in a little bit less. We have a couple of windows that actually help us. We can open multiply parameter set, where it's like a half curve, or only from one point to another point, we have only 2 keys. So we work on this curve. So here we can tweak our Bezier curve, because the movement in harmony is, as in 3D, it works with Bezier curve. So the first key will be the fastest because it's going to be the pointy, and the second one will be slowing. There are different options and different passes in harmony. This pass is 3D pass. This is the easiest option for animating on twins, but also separate pass is allowing us much more and not limiting us with the movement. Every time we continue to work, we work specifically only on two elements. After we are done eyeballing our arches by easing in and easing out, we can go to function bar. Our function bar looks a little bit like graph editor in 3D. So when we look on our function bar, we see arches all together, and we can continue tweaking it, but we don't want it as perfect as in 3D because we still want to touch elements, because after that we're still switching to on twos. It's just in between. We are not finishing animation on twins ever, never. And also we work always on twos because it looks better. Why actually it looks better? Because it leaves us a little bit of imagination. Every second frame, a person that looks our animation will imagine whatever he wants to see. Let's tweak it a little bit, but not too much. We will work on pass velo. This is our velocity, but since it's a 3D pass, all of these parameters are combined together. So we can't separate them. Otherwise, we would need to start our animation from scratch and go into separate pass. But we still want to tweak the velocity. But when we will tweak it on our pass velo, it will tweak all of the parameters x, y, z together. So for example, here, I want more sharp animation. I can go and start manipulating the my arches a little bit. Not too much, because most of the stuff we still want to do by hand. Why we don't want it to be super perfect? Because we will switch on twos. And it means after we switch on twos, we still can fix it. It's not the final pass. We want to add a rotation to this ball. Since this peg is actually only for translation, we don't want to add rotation on the same peg. So what we're going to do, we will add additional peg that will rotate our ball. We still can do it on spot, but it also is always easier to do it while the ball is moving. So what we're going to do, we will move this peg up. For visualization, I'll call it translation, and I'll add additional peg that we will call it rotation. We will still need to add a registration point here. But now what we can do, we can decide when our ball is rotated. You see there is a separate layer that we can decide if we place a key together with the translation or do it separately. I always like to work organized, that my keys on the rotation will be the same as in translation and gonna stand on the timeline on the same spot. And we will get right now into function bar and see what's the difference in the keys. So in function bar, you can see that the peg that I chose right now, this is a separate peg, it has stepped visual. So we don't see nice and smooth arches, but we actually see steps. So that's why it's called stepped mode. Let's see what we do. We will rotate our ball a little bit every time it moves here. Also, we can copy frames. We copy one frame from here and start a new position from an old position. So we copy the frame, move it a little bit. So now we have rotation, but our top peg is on twin. Our bottom peg is on step. So that's why we see it's a little bit snappy. Let's twin the bottom one too. We can decide if we want eases on the same spot or on the other spot. Also, we can turn off our main peg that is translating and work entirely on the rotation. Okay, and now we will see both of these pegs together. We'll turn on our translation. But still, the animation jiggling and a little bit mechanical. So what we're going to do, we're going to switch all our animation to on twos. We can do it automatically in Harmony. We can choose all our frames, close the main peg, because main peg here is a translation, and go to the button that called switch on twos, specifically that is done for that. It will automatically decide where actually it will do 2 frames and where it's not good, and I'll keep on ones because these frames are standing nearby and the program doesn't know if you want to switch these elements because it's fast on ones or on twos. So that's why me specifically, it's my preference. Everything is personal preference in Harmony. I like to do it by hand. I'm going and switching my entire animation to on twos by hand. So I decide where I want to switch it. And also I calculate my frames because I don't want, why actually Harmony could not switch to on twos, because he can't do it on twos. He needs to switch it like somewhere on ones. But I can move my frames here in this position. Do I want this additional frame? Or maybe I want to delete it. Do I want this frame? Do I want to extend my animation? I'm always deciding for each episode, each 2 keys, if I do want it longer or if I want it shorter. But the main thing that we do want to see our animation on twos. This animation, it was really laggy when it was twinned, but on twos, it looks much better. So what we actually did, we created an animation that called cutout animation. We used our ball, we moved it in space, we twinned it. Now we will add a little bit of traditional frame by frame animation. How can we do it? We call it drawing substitution. For that, we need to get inside our drawing and actually start creating frames in the moment we want the ball change shape. I can turn off all of my pegs and start doing it on spot, like standing on the same spot. But it's easier when I see the movement in the space and decide where actually I'm squashing or stretching my ball. Every time I decide I need additional drawing, I create additional drawing sub or press Alt-Shift-D. Start manipulating the elements first automatically with some manipulators. And after that, I'll switch to mode where I can actually change the shape. I'm not actually drawing in Harmony, but I'm using different tools. It's like pencil drawing. We do want to achieve an appealing shape that is imperfect and changes with the impact on the floor. We're using contour editor, but in case of classical animators, they used pencils and erasers. Different medias, different tools. Here, I'll keep it the same, but when it actually jumps, what I'll do, I create additional frame where it squashes. So I start to squash with the manipulators, but then I'll continue doing it the way I want. I can change the shape, working on the elements when I decide I need it. My ball is already not cutouty. It has different shapes. Now I can use the same drawing substitutions. I don't need to draw them again. I can reuse them in other keys. So basically, after I bake my animation, I switch to on tooth. I can't switch back to twins. If I want to, yes, but in general, it means that I already showed my keys to my director. He approved it, and I can continue manipulating the frames, creating in-betweens, and drawing substitutions. So I'm manipulating all of these three elements together to create an appealing animation. So it's drawings, it's pegs, and also the ground. You can see that basically our peg, and the way we moved it, it's called 3D pass. Why actually it's called 3D pass? Because when I created the pass, Harmony was creating me its automatic smoothness. So let's see, we have the instrument that shows us the pass. So instead of working with Graph Editor, I can continue polishing my pass when I turn it on after I have my drawings, and I keep working on this. But on top of that, I can add a 3D element by adding a 3D camera. Camera always works with pegs too, and we can decide what kind of peg we want to use. With camera here, I want to use separate pass, but enable 3D. I can create frames here. It will rotate in the process, and I'll twin it. So we kind of added a 3D movement in the 3D space to our simple animation, but just to test how everything works in Harmony together. We are taking from each animation technique that creates animation in modern days. It's cutout, it's 3D, it's 2D. We don't care how you call this media. If you can use it to create a beautiful animation, we will use it without naming. And that's why it's called 2.5D, because it combines a lot of medias.